And here we have some Mid-America Energy Company BTC DC fast chargers. We've got 200 amp cables, so you're definitely not going to get the rated power. This screen is flickering. That's not just the camera. That last drive was pretty spectacular. It was about 3 hours of all back roads driving. I think that's the longest time I've been off the interstate in a very long time. What's up, guys? It's Brandon Flash. Today we have my 2023 Tesla Model Y with the 4680 structural battery pack made in Austin, Texas. And we're hitting the road from Lino Lakes, Minnesota, and we're headed back to Charlotte, North Carolina. This is going to be a 2-day road trip. Let me show you the car quick, and then we'll hit the road. So we're here in Lino Lakes at my friend Tim's house. We're just getting a little bit of last minute top off. The wrap shop I just picked it up from, they weren't able to plug it in overnight, so just getting a little bit of juice on his Gen 1 mobile connector at 40 amps before we go. We'll hop inside in just a second, but here we have it. I just picked it up this morning from Platinum Auto Wraps Tint Pros because they have it all nice and wrapped for me. Looks like my trunk is not, yeah, okay. I'm not going crazy, it's not fully closed. Let's see. There we go. Now it's nice and fully closed. So back here we have the carbon fiber spoiler. We've got the Abstract Ocean emblem. If you haven't already, check out my full video talking about the wrap and all the changes I made to it. We have window tint now on the side windows, the windshield, the works basically. Let's hop inside. I'll show you the trip efficiency and things like that. So I've driven quite a bit while here, but I actually didn't have my car most of the time. So 1663 miles, we're at just under 4,300 miles on the odometer. I've got kind of a tentative route home. Let's see, so we'll see what it says just to Charlotte on its own. And then we're gonna add a detour here because we're gonna go through St. Louis. So let's add Hannibal as a waypoint. Probably gonna go through Bowling Green rather than where it's wanting, so we'll add that in as well because we're actually headed to Nashville in a couple weeks, so going to change the route there to not go through Nashville twice within a couple weeks. So let's edit this route. You can see the route planning here is not the best thing. It's a little clumsy with multi-stop, but it works generally pretty well. It is 1:45 in the afternoon, so definitely a bit of a late start. We got the car all packed up. You can see we're at 70% charge, which is actually pretty good. We've added 10 kilowatt hour just while loading up the car and everything. So let's see this full route. So it wants us to stop in Rochester first, which I think does make a lot of sense because there's not a whole lot until Waterloo. And then, yeah, looks like probably somewhere between Cedar Rapids and Hannibal is where we'll stay, so I'll have to take a look. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot in there. I'd like to go to St. Louis tomorrow, go through the Gateway Arch, maybe just make a quick detour, and then make it all the way home tomorrow because today's Friday. I can get home pretty late tomorrow, Sunday or Saturday. Then that way we have Sunday, if I can get my days right, to kind of get back in the groove of things before going back to the office on Monday. So that's our tentative route. We're gonna hit the road. We'll unplug here in just a minute, right when we're just about to get going. But wanted to give you guys the overview, and of course, there we have it, 1663, 510 kilowatt hours used so far, and 307 watt hour per mile. We're probably going to take kind of a mixed approach to driving, kind of a balancing speed and efficiency, but not going full all out, and definitely not going like 5 under the speed limit or anything crazy like that. We'll go, I don't know, probably like 5-ish over and call it good. Well, we just arrived in Rochester, Minnesota. This is a version 2 supercharger. Let's see if it wants to open my charge port. There we go. We're at 31% here, as you can see on the app. Bethany's sleeping, so I'm just going to show you guys here. This is on my second phone. So we're at 31%. Got decent efficiency, actually, with the amount of traffic that we had. See how instant this is. Go pretty quick. I guess it doesn't show on the app unless you set a phone key. That's silly. There we go. We're at 140 kilowatts. Driven 102 miles. I think we started at 71%. So not bad. Very good efficiency due to traffic. So just going to charge up here enough to get to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So a quick tour of the site. This is actually a version 2 supercharger, probably one of the few we'll go to on this route. We've got a 500 kVA transformer, CT cabinet there. We've got 4 of the version 2 supercharger cabinets. I believe this is a 150 kilowatt site. 135, and those I believe have all been retrofitted to 150. Looks like we've got some maybe harmonic filters, I believe. Doesn't quite say, oh, control transformer. So looks like it's stepping it down from 504 to 480, which is interesting. So just kind of a voltage regulator of sorts, I think. That's a little weird. But gonna run into Hy-Vee, probably gonna grab some caffeine or something. Model Y looks great. Because we're going to be continuing on for a decent while, it seems. Because we realize that if we don't go a decent bit tonight, there'll be a very long day tomorrow, and we don't really want that. Might end up being like a 14-hour day tomorrow if we don't get a decent bit on today. Because it's about 20-ish hours of driving, maybe 22, something like that, to go this route, which maybe wasn't the best choice given our late start, but we're a bit committed now at this point. But looks like last time we were, or last time I was at this supercharger was in 2019, which was before I moved away from Minnesota. So it's been quite a while since I've been down to Rochester, but good to be passing through here. Well, since we're going to be on the road for a little while, I went into Hy-Vee to see if they had any yerba mate, and unfortunately they don't. It's surprisingly hard to find yerba mate, which is why I normally order it in 12 packs on Amazon rather than having to get it at Whole Foods or at Harris Teeter, which both happen to be within half a mile of my apartment, which is rather convenient, but they don't exist everywhere. So I think we're going to grab a Starbucks refresher just so I have some caffeine before we hit the road and continue for another couple hours, because it's 4:05 right now. Sorry, 5:05 right now, roughly. Charged up to 81%. We're going to stop at Starbucks on the way out. And Cedar Rapids, Iowa, looks like we'll get there about 8 o'clock and with about 20%. So that gives us a nice and healthy buffer. Starbucks is on the way out of town. 18% state of charge. We drove 117 miles on this charge. We're actually in Waterloo, Iowa. We made a quick detour. We're gonna get plugged in. This is a weird setup. It's angled parking, as you can see here. We've got a Mid-America Energy Company BTC DC fast chargers over there. Not great. And here we have it. And here we have it ramping up. 175. Let's see what we hit at 18%. This is going to be a very brief stop because we're actually going to be still continuing on to Cedar Rapids. And we'll be getting there pretty much as quick as we can because we're meeting up with Iowa Tesla guy there. So this is probably a 10-minute stop. Might run and use the restroom and then we'll get back on the road. And you might wonder why we stopped here. So I think there was extra wind or something. I'm not 100% sure the cause, but my arrival estimate kept dropping. So decided that instead of slowing down like to a painfully slow speed, below the speed limit even, definitely below the speed of traffic flow, I decided to speed up instead and add the stop rather than kind of just hypermile it the entire way all the way to Cedar Rapids, because this is actually going to be faster than slowing down significantly and improving efficiency to be able to make it. I just think it makes more sense and it's definitely easier to drive. Quick rate your charge update from Waterloo, Iowa. We've got my Model Y charging. You can see the new wrap there. Looking great. There's a very brief stop here at Hy-Vee. There's a Walmart there, Hy-Vee there. And here we have some Mid-America Energy Company BTC DC fast chargers. We've got 200 amp cables, so you're definitely not going to get the rated power. This screen is flickering. That's not just the camera. Let's see if this one looks operational. This one at least looks operational. Again, 200 amp cables, but supercharger's working great. We've got 2 cars there, and this is questionable at best, unfortunately. And we're charged up to 42%. Time to hit the road. Made it to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We rolled in at 10%. And we've got Jim and his wife over there. Beautiful sunset evening, and we're at a Hy-Vee, of course. We're at the Cedar Rapids Supercharger. Jim, Iowa Tesla guy, check out his channel if you haven't already. He's got red Model Y there and a midnight silver Model Y as well. Lots of accessories, so if you're interested, check that channel out as well. We're gonna hit the road here in just a moment. Excellent. And we are charged up to 93%. We're talking to Iowa Tesla Jim. Let's get our hotel added on here because I actually booked a hotel. What a concept. Best Western on the River in Hannibal, Missouri. There's Jim on his way out. There, Hannibal. There's not charging there, unfortunately, because I couldn't find any hotel with charging. So we'll just do a brief stop. Probably tonight would be my guess on our way in. Let's see. Give us a moment. Or let's turn off Wi-Fi because it's connected to my hotspot, which is slower than cellular for some reason. So we're in Cedar Rapids. We're heading south. Is it wanting us to do? Okay, so I guess it's wanting us to charge after, but we'll arrive with 43%, which might actually be enough to make it all the way to Mount Vernon. We'll play it by ear here, but let's get on the road because it's getting late. It's 9 o'clock already. We've got 168 miles to go to the hotel. That's a decent stretch. We've arrived in Hannibal, Missouri. Just going to charge here to make it to the next stop so we don't have to charge in the morning. I'll go over a couple reasons why we're charging tonight rather than in the morning. But first, let's get plugged in, clean off the bugs. Well, we're plugged in and charging. Couple reasons you want to charge at night on a road trip if you don't have hotel charging rather than in the morning. First one, you want to be able to use Sentry mode, dog mode, keep climate on, turn your climate on in the morning, whatever the case may be, whatever makes sense. Sentry mode especially if you're in an area that's maybe not the safest potentially. But if you're below 20%, you can't turn that on. Secondly, you'll want to be able to have a warm battery for your fast charging. And if you charge in the morning, most likely it's going to be cooler overnight. Your battery is going to sit, cool down, and then it'll have to precondition pretty aggressively in the morning, and most likely won't have an opportunity to fully precondition. And thirdly, kind of just a matter of preference, I like to start the morning with as much of a charge as possible, so that way you can just hit the road, be ready to go, and then just kind of pile on those miles on that first leg of the day. But we're charging here, and windshield's terrible. I'm also going to clean off the front end because with paint protection film, I can just use some cleaner and microfiber, and it's not going to scratch anything, which is great. So let's do that, and I'll see how much charge I need to get for the morning. This looks super purple at night, but you can see all the bugs there. That's from wiping the front end of the car. That's just a disgusting amount of bugs. We're at the Hannibal, Missouri Supercharger. Just gave my car kind of a mini detail of sorts, used some spray detailer stuff. And because the whole car is covered in PPF, I can just use that and a microfiber and not really care about scratches or anything like that. We're charging great, charging tonight because the hotel we're staying at doesn't have charging. So that way we don't wake up with a cold battery and try to fast charge it, because that's just a recipe for failure. We're at a Casey's and everything is going well lit parking lot. Haven't been inside, but it's pretty hot in here, so it's probably fine. Yeah, here we have the car. There's another Model Y charging, and then headed to the hotel. It's almost midnight, so definitely been a long day. Well, we charged 59% at the Supercharger. Made it to the hotel. There's our stats for the day. You'll see us in the morning. Good morning from Hannibal, Missouri. We've got a software update that installed last night. Nothing crazy, just some updates, it looks like. We're not going to the Supercharger again this morning, but let's just go to St. Charles, probably Beale Street. I think that's where we'll go. We'll take a look, see where we want to maybe grab breakfast. So projecting 8% arrival, and then get to Mount Vernon afterwards. So we'll figure that out from there as we get going, but here are the stats. Had a decent sleep. It is very early, 6:12 in the morning. I can't remember the last time I hit the road this early other than when we left for this trip, but let's get to it. Hotel we stayed at was the Best Western, and it was described as exceptionally clean, but I would describe it probably as exceptionally mediocre. It was fine, but overpriced for what it was. Learned that this town apparently is home to Mark Twain, or was home to Mark Twain, and has parts of the Titanic. There's some barbecue fest going on, so I guess there's a lot happening in this town of Hannibal, Missouri that I have never heard of prior, so the more you know. It's actually a cute little downtown as we just passed there. Made it to St. Charles, Missouri. We're at 7%. This is going to be a brief stop. We're headed to Collinsville. There's a Starbucks there, but 97 miles driven. This is a version 2 supercharger. You can tell it's version 2 because it has the silver ring here, which means it's not a liquid cooled cable. The cable itself is a bit thicker. And we've got quite the construction going on over here. Model X. Wow, that's a lot of bugs from Colorado. It's kind of cool. There's a sign here telling you that there's additional superchargers at the streets of St. Charles 3 miles away, but that's actually a 72 kilowatt urban supercharger. So they failed to mention that, not ideal. But you can see huge crane here. And there's the supercharger. This is a 6, I think it showed 8 stall. There must be 3 more somewhere else. I don't really know. But anyway, got 5 here. And of course, worth noting with any version 2 supercharger, you always want to make sure that you're on your own cabinet. So that means looking at whether you're on like 1A or 1B, those are sharings, or 2A, 2B, those are sharing. So you want to make sure you have your own number if you're at a B2 site. Doesn't matter on version 3 with the liquid cooled cables because those have site level power sharing, but on version 2 it does matter. So definitely want to pay attention to that, or you're going to be getting quite a bit less power than you'd expect, and also kind of why version 2 sites are not ideal if they're near capacity. Charged 29% and we're off to Collinsville, Illinois. Collinsville, Illinois. First stop in Illinois, 35 miles, so very quick jaunt there. Interesting, we're on some pavers. I suspect that was due to impermeable surface requirements. But we're at a Casey's. There's a Starbucks kind of across there. Maybe we'll walk there. Maybe we'll just wait and grab it on the way out. But couldn't mobile order for some reason. But here we have the car looking really good. We're ramping up here. It's a version 2, or sorry, version 3. Again, you can tell by the lack of the silver ring there. Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty brief stop. Charged from 12 to 49%. We have 73 miles to go. Got Starbucks. Time to hit the road. Made it to the Mount Vernon South 42nd Street Supercharger. We're at 7%. There are our stats. We drove 74 miles. Pretty decent clip. We'll get plugged in here and then I'll give you a quick tour of what we've got going on here. It's a little bit of an interesting setup. Let's see if the charge port wants to open. Also, for those that have commented on my hitting the charge port with my finger if it doesn't open, I actually have PPF on there now, so that works. But it's interesting. These are they're more centered on the stalls, which indicates that maybe they're going to swap these out with V4 at some point. Seems plausible, at least. We've got a handicap stall here, and it's marked properly how they should be marked for accessible stalls, which is designed for disabled access use last. That's how it should be done. Got our PSUs. These are the prefab supercharger units, so they come as these big slabs, basically. And you've got the integrated disconnect. You've got the cabinet. You've got the 4 posts. So the date on these is, where is the date? March 2023. So this is a very new installation. I think this one just opened actually pretty darn recently. Got another Model Y right there. Got a car wash, Mach 1 with a Subway, and we've got a Culver's right over there. So this is a great stop. No complaints from me. While we're finishing up here in Mount Vernon, here's kind of the rest of our plans. We'll go to Haubstadt next, Beaver Dam, Cookeville, Crossville, I believe that's a Buc-ee's. Sevierville, as many of you commented, I believe, or that's Buc-ee's. Asheville, we'll have to take a look and see which of the Asheville sites make sense. Actually, it probably is that one. And then we'll be home. So hopefully we get home at a pretty reasonable time. But looks like we will, actually. We've got, I don't know how many miles left, but according to Waze, which I don't think is the same route that we're going, 641 miles to go. But we've done over 2,000 miles since departing home for this trip. And we're going to cross 5,000 miles on this leg here. So definitely piling on the miles on this car. We charged to 60% in 21 minutes, and now we're off to Haubstadt, Indiana. Haubstadt, Indiana. We're making great time today. And we'll get plugged in. We're at 7%. Got an older Model S there, AP1 maybe, or even pre-autopilot, didn't look too close. Got a Model 3 dual motor there, pretty dirty. And this is not a prefab site. This is dual version, or yeah, 8-stall version 3, 2 cabinets. We're already charging here. And we're at another Mach 1 Marathon gas station. Let's see what kind of speeds we're getting. There we have it, 219 kilowatts. That's probably about as much as we'll get. Let's see what this one costs. This one is 40 cents kilowatt hour, so a little bit actually on the higher end for what I've seen. I've seen typically in the like mid to high 30s. We've been charging for a few minutes now. Let's take a look at our battery temp out of curiosity. Also, we crossed 5,000 miles on this leg. So you can see 5,000 miles in our efficiency. go into service mode here. Maybe, if it wants to do its thing. Maybe I mistyped that. That's entirely possible. Service. Enable. Immediately turn climate back on because it kills climate, which kind of makes sense for service mode. We'll go into charging. Battery is not that hot. I mean, it's certainly toasty at 48 minimum, which again, that number is not correct as we found. I'm waiting to get my CAN bus harness for the CAN server so I can verify that in a little bit more detail, but max temp 61C, so definitely getting a bit toasty, but seems to be keeping up just fine with these repeated superchargers. Looks like we're headed to Beaver Dam, Kentucky next. And we're still making pretty good time. We're actually reducing our arrival, or not reducing, but making it nearer. I don't know, whatever. It's been a long day, lots of driving, so whatever the correct grammatical way to say that is, someone comment down below. Well, charged up to 52%. It's already saying we'll have a 26% buffer, which I'm a little skeptical of, but I think we're fine with 52% and only going 85 miles. Let's hit the road. Beaver Dam, Kentucky. We're at 7%. We've driven 86 miles. I need to take a look at the route once we get plugged in and charging, because it added an additional stop that I don't think is necessary, but we'll take a look. Might just charge a little bit longer here rather than adding an additional stop. But we've got an 8-stall version 3 supercharger. We're at a Huck's, which is a like travel plaza place. We're right off in the interstate. We had to come, I think we're going east-west now rather than north-south or vice versa, but pretty nice stop here. Even Alyssa would approve. There's a dog park there. We've got the transformer here. We have a trailer stall over here, which is pretty cool. Let's see what size a transformer this is. You've got dual meters here because there's also some ChargePoint CP 250s there. So this is, let's see, I don't actually see a size, but probably a 2000 kVA would be my guess, which actually seems a bit overkill, but maybe they've got other things going on here too. But over here's the trailer stall, which is pretty unique. Big fan though. So you can pull your car all the way up and then you can have the trailer hanging off, which is very uncommon, I'd say. Let's go take a look at the CPE 250s, see how those are looking. My car looks great. Need to clean the windshield though. One of them is missing the branding, which is a little bit weird. Got your little distribution cabinet for these. Right there. Let's take a look and see what the price is. So they are 125 kilowatt shared. Let's see if the touchscreen will work, maybe. Nope. Let's see on this one, maybe. Oh, there we go. So 32 kilowatts, or 32 cents per kilowatt hour, and then $6 an hour, 10 minutes after charging stops for parking. So that's actually not terrible. That's a pretty reasonable price structure. No one's using these, but they're here. They each have CCS and CHAdeMO, so 62.5 kilowatts. Both are in use per port, but up to 200 amps to one vehicle if you're pulling from both of them. Otherwise, it's up to 156 amps. Basically, you'll get less power if both are in use. You'll get probably not 125 kilowatts, even if only one is in use, unless you have an 800 volt car like a Taycan, Ioniq 5, EV6, Lucid Air. But we're using the supercharger. It's working great. This is going to be a little bit longer stop than the past few, and we'll check out the convenience store. We charged up to 65%. Now we're grabbing some Scenic for lunch, and then off to Cookeville, Tennessee.
It's easy to remember where I started, doors that opened up, a place I long to find. My fear and money disregarded for another time. No, I didn't know it hit me out of nowhere. screaming now or never. To people I don't know. Yesterday is far enough away to see the difference. No, I didn't know it was coming out of nowhere. No, I didn't know it, but I had to go there. Take me back to the place I'm missing. Oh, I wanna catch a fever in the underground. No amount of nothing that can replace. I remember dreaming, rolling up just to get away. Just to get away. Just to get away. Take me back to the place I'm missing. Oh, I wanna catch a fever in the underground. No amount of nothing that can replace. I remember dreaming, rolling up just to get away. Take me back to the place I'm missing. Oh, I wanna catch a fever in the underground. No amount of nothing that can replace. I remember dreaming, rolling up just to get away. Just to get away. Yesterday's far enough away to take me back to the place I miss.
Cookeville, Tennessee. I don't remember this site for some reason, even though I'm pretty sure I've been here before. We're at 3% state of charge. We've driven 133 miles. Let's get plugged in and I'll tell you about the drive. And this is a version 2, 150 kilowatt site. Definitely on the older side, but I've definitely been here before because I don't know how I would have done the cross-country drive on I-40 without having been here before, but it's just not striking my memory for some reason. So here we have the version 2 cabinet. It's a really interesting cabinet layout, I must say. Having them all sideways like this, I don't know why they didn't turn them and put them next to each other rather than having them spaced, because they have to have the ventilation on the backside. You can also see the retrofit they did with the gateway, and then that's their connectivity stuff. So definitely interesting site. I'll have to look at my records and see if or when I was last here, but this just doesn't seem familiar to me, and I don't know why. So it turns out I actually have been to the Cookeville Supercharger. It was just in March of 2021 on a cross-country road trip, so I guess that's on the channel somewhere. I think I was going from somewhere out here all the way out to California, I think. I don't recall exactly what trip that was, but I think if you go back in the videos, you'll find it. But anyway, that last drive was pretty spectacular. It was about 3 hours of all back roads driving. I think that's the longest time I've been off the interstate in a very long time. It was almost a little bit too much. I wish it was on a day that I could enjoy it a little bit more versus when I'm trying to just kind of pile on the miles and get home. But it did work out. I think it was shorter than if we had gone kind of down south to Nashville, southwest, and then headed straight east on I-40. This was basically a straight shot from wherever we were previously through Bowling Green and then across here to Cookeville. And now we're going to be hopping on to I-40 and going basically straight to Charlotte, or I-40 to Asheville, and then we'll take 85 down to Charlotte. So it's time to hit the road. We've been here, I think, less than 10 minutes, and we'll get going. And as I'm going to unplug here, I can definitely feel the version 2 supercharger handle is quite toasty. If I was staying here a little bit longer, I definitely would have pulled out a microfiber towel and doused it in some water to do the wet towel trick, but I'm just about to unplug. I think we're at about 31% roughly, and that should be enough to make it to the next one, which I believe is Crossville, and I think that's at a Buc-ee's. So time to get going. We've got the cable back there. Let me show you in the car what we're at. So we're at 34%, and it's projecting arrival to Crossville with 13%. So let's get going. Crossville, Tennessee, Genesis Road. This is the Buc-ee's one. Drove 36 miles, not very far. And this is a 16 stall version 3 supercharger. Last time I was here was actually when they just had the transformer and they had some conduit stubbed up, but they didn't actually have superchargers at any Buc-ee's, I think, at that point. We got one other person charging here. We got a Buc-ee's. This one actually has great access, surprisingly. So pulled right off and we're charging now. So can't really complain at all. Got a yerba mate because we've got quite a few miles to drive. Some Cosmic Pops because they're yummy. and headed the 88 miles to Sevierville, Tennessee, another Buc-ee's just east of Knoxville. We're probably going to grab dinner there, so we'll see if we end up charging enough to make it all the way back to Charlotte. Otherwise, we'll stop in Asheville, so we'll just kind of see how it shakes out. But that was a pretty short jaunt. I think it was about an 11-minute charge, and we're up to 50%. %, arrival at the Sevierville, as many of you corrected me. Buc-ee's, we're at 10%, and we drove 89 miles. Pretty good efficiency because we lost about 1,000 feet of elevation. We'll get plugged in here. Good news, they have signs here now. Last time we were here, there were not any signs, and I've heard reports of many of these being ice. So great news for Tesla drivers, and I'm only seeing one ice, so that's not a big deal. That's probably a general parking also sign. And then you've got a Model Y all the way down there, parked sideways, but looks like they had a bike rack on there, so that makes sense. But going to get charged up and get some food. Here's the full 24 stall version 3 supercharger. If you haven't already watched the first half of the road trip video, the way out to Minnesota, because I actually got some drone shots, and yeah, they turned out pretty well. People liked them. Unfortunately, this trip is a bit tight on timing, so didn't have a chance to get the drone out, but here is the site. You can see Buc-ee's, and then there's the car wash under construction over there. And you can see my blue purple-ish Tesla. Charged up to 71%, had some dinner. We're gonna hit the road to Asheville. Looks like we have 97 miles, so about an hour and a half. Should be pretty quick. We'll arrive with a lot of charge, so it'll be a brief top off before heading home. Arrived to the Asheville Thetford Street supercharger. Looks like there's one stall down, but that's fine. There are 11 other ones. We'll get plugged in here. Just like that. So we've got 4 stalls over here. We've got 4 there with the one that's down. You can see the light is off on the pedestal there. Then over here we've got few more, looks like 4 more, and then we have an EVgo charger that I've actually used before, and that's why I've been here before, because this was actually under construction last time I was here. This is my first time charging on the supercharger here. This is Kinsey, as it's named. I don't know if it's still looks like it's functional. I'm gonna check the status on the app, but looks decent. And this is the last charge before we head back to Charlotte. We're charged up to 62%, so this is going to be our final supercharge. Looks like we'll make it all the way back to Charlotte with enough charge. Worst case, there's plenty of chargers around Charlotte, or there's a Circle K in Gastonia on the way into town, but I don't think we'll need it. So 62%, let's just look at the stats here. We'll go over all the finals once we get back home, but we're going to be just shy of 3,000 miles, which is a bit of a shame, but I had the loaner Model 3 for a little while, so that I put about 600 miles on, so we definitely crossed over 3,000 miles. But let's get unplugged here. And time to get on the road here. Let's get to it. Well, we made it home. We're at 4% as you can see. Car is not happy about it, but that's fine. Sentry mode's not available, so I'll turn that on as soon as it hits 20%. But here are some final stats. So 2977 miles driven on this trip. That's just in this car, obviously. We're at just shy of 5,600 miles driven on the car total. Going to get plugged in this last leg, so we did a detour, 141 miles. Somehow, I believe it's 74 to 26 or 26 to 74 out of Asheville to Charlotte. Somehow I missed the exit, or it was closed for construction or something, to switch over there. So actually ended up having to go all the way through Spartanburg. So that added, I think, like 20-ish miles, something like that. Certainly not ideal. Had to hypermile a little bit and go a little bit slower, but made it all the way back to Charlotte, dropped off Bethany. I'm back home, just started unloading some of my stuff, brought some stuff up to my apartment. Just need to make a second trip up. Definitely going to get my car charging shortly here. Parked at the chargers. You can see it behind me. Haven't plugged in yet. And that's that. Probably going to do a detailed analysis of all the charging stats, driving stats, things like that. Comment down below any questions you may have that you want me to answer, or any things you want me to share. But otherwise, if you haven't already and you're still watching, I appreciate you. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. This is probably going to be a very long video, but many, many more to come. I already have multiple road trips planned with this Model Y and really, really enjoying it.